Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Marcus DeShields. This is my lovely wife, Erica DeShields, and we're here to discuss long distance dating and the transition to marriage, where we are currently.
Hmm.
Mm. It's been a long process, but
So we are discussing this topic because people ask, people always wonder like how did we make long distance work? Unfortunately, people don't feel like long distance work. But in today's world, we're mainly meeting on social media. So a lot of times things are long distance. And it just, we want to help you guys kind of open and broaden your idea of dating in today's society. That long distance or meeting someone that actually may be far away is not that bad of an idea. It can actually work out.
yes, and I mean for me, it definitely worked. Um, for one thing, try to think. As far as I was abstaining from marriage, abstaining from sex and stuff like that. So actually, the long distance actually helped. You know, you constantly under someone, and them temptations do rise. And no matter how strong you think you are, things tend to happen. But for me, it actually made it easier, and it built a foundation of where we could communicate. That's all we had at one point was communication, talking, discussing life plans, and you know, like my wife was saying, society makes it like you always gotta be under, you gotta know so much, but a lot of people are not going for the long term. They're versus the short term. They want to meet their physical needs. They want to feed their physical taste buds and stuff like that. And they're not really thinking about marriage all the time. So of course it wouldn't work.
So, what would you say the idea of long distance from the start of things, like meeting someone, and what that look like?
I think you know, first it's all about talking and communication and seeing where y'all are, and is it worth to invest into that long distance relationship because it is an investment and it does take time, and you got to make sure it's worth it. Like because it gets hard. It's hard out there.
So initially, when you were open for dating and you met me,
Hmm.
like, were you open to long distance dating, or um, was that a possibility for you? How did you see yourself? Were you originally open to moving? Like, how did you feel like long distance would work for you or for us?
Well, you know, I told you at first it was just talking. So you guys, if you watched any of our videos, we met on a group, a single, a waiting to marriage group, single. So I'm talking to her. You know, at first I'm not thinking about long distance. I'm just communicating. And then I checked out her profile on Facebook, and that thing said New Orleans. I said New Orleans. I said, nah, hold on. Maybe she's just staying, or maybe she's just from New Orleans and she lives somewhere else. She's closer. So I was like, where do you say? New Orleans. New Orleans. That's thousands of miles away. I live in Virginia Beach, though. Virginia Beach, Virginia. New Orleans is not close. It's not around the corner. So at first, man, I had it wasn't long distance. Wasn't even. I mean, it wasn't even in my mind. It was just talking. So, but that thing really after that New Orleans conversation, I said, "Whoo, oh boy."
Hmm. Well, for me, like, just I didn't want to date long distance. Um, and that was me coming in. It don't seem like it mattered to him. Like he just wanted to find somebody nice or decent to talk to. I, on the other hand, like when I would meet people that was long distance, then I was like almost initially closed off because I knew long distance was something that I didn't really want. Because there was that factor of I wanted companionship. I wanted to be able to be with the person. I wanted to be able to date and, hang out and stuff like that. I felt like that was a big part of dating and getting to know a person. But also, like, Marcus said, one of the things I've learned in the process is that talking, like that communication, that helped so much in our relationship because you're not in each other's presence. That's really all you have. You only can talk and work things out, even if y'all have an argument. Like if y'all have an argument and
There's no smooching.
it's no way to like butter things back up.
So what changed your mind about me?
So I think for me, it's like once I actually started falling for you, that changed my mind about long distance. So it wasn't that my mind got changed about you per se, but my mind got changed about the sacrifice or the effort I was willing to put in to make this work. So that's what changed. So once I decided that I wanted you, I wanted to be with you, then I was willing to do what works, like what will help us build towards that. Because even in initially when we started talking and I started liking you and stuff, that still wasn't enough to keep me basically. Because again, I didn't want long distance. It didn't stop me from wanting and longing for the companionship, the going out, the hanging out, the dating. It didn't stop that, but it almost made me kind of prioritize what was important. And truth be told, again, that's how I realized that the communication was more important because I've we broke up before and then I was actually dating other people. So in that dating, I was then physically with people and going out, hanging out, and it wasn't enough. So
She missed your boy.
I did. I definitely missed you. So, it helped me prioritize like what was important and just kind of show that the communication of our relationship really built the foundation. It wasn't about us, quote unquote, being together all the time. And truth be told, it was going to come. Like, that's the thing about dating, that's the thing about marriage. Like, all the things you want, it's just like, it's God's way of teaching you patience. Because the stuff you want or the stuff you feel like you're not going to get, you're going to get it in due time. And a lot of times we don't focus on that. I mean, sex is a great example. So for us to be abstaining, you're tempted, you want to have sex, but it's not that you can't have sex. You can't have sex right now. When you get married, you can have sex. So, but mentally, like, we put ourselves through all this trouble of focusing on the fact that we can't have sex, that we sacrifice everything for a moment, when in reality, you go through the process, you be patient, you get married, and you get to have all the sex you want. So it's very critical to like prioritize things and focus on what's important. Being with you, building with you, made me change my mind about long distance dating.
How long did it take?
It probably was like probably 5 or 6 months after we stopped talking, because again, all of this happened in our time off season.
This round 2, y'all.
The way that you look at our breakups is different from how I look at our breakups.
Okay.
He always counted as like 3 times. I counted more like a stretch. We had this stretch of a long period of time where all the building happened. We had a stint where we talked and then we just stopped talking again. But then we got back together. So we look at it different. So I don't always feel the need to capture, the first time or the second time. But he do. But that's him. He that's his thing. He's more dated. Like, he likes to put everything to a time frame, a season, a win situation, where I'm just like, this is what happened and this was the result of it.
Okay.
So whatever.
It's different for me. I'm more of, as far as, don't get me wrong, I like the physicalness or the touchy feely, but I'm more of a feelings or thought person. So the long distance thing was a challenge, don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna say, but it really allowed me to open up. So for me, in my past relationships, I'm always the person listening, and I'm always taking it in. But I never really reveal who I am or the deep things from me, and it just gave me a chance to allow myself to open up. So because I didn't have this, well, we can just hide under this movie, we can just hide. Um, I feel is between this amusement part, because and what this is one some advice I will give you, no matter how you're dating, don't always go to places that are just gonna consume your time. Um, don't where you're just doing, but you'll never sit down. Sit down, have a dinner. You know, um, sit down, no distractions, and looking that person eye to eye, and ask them, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? How does this look to you? And then you miss out on all that time and where you could have been really building, but you were so busy trying to have fun. So we wasn't having sex and stuff. And so that's another topic where it just can blind you. You having sex, you not hitting it and hitting it and stuff, where you're blinded to who that person really is.
Did you say hitting
I did say hitting
it? Okay.
But y'all, you gotta be. I mean, you gotta be intentional. But it's real. So in that time for me, it was just like I always seen the vision, the long term vision with our relationship, and so I was willing to put that time. And I think that's sometimes where me and my wife literally had to compromise. Where I didn't want to be on a long term relationship forever, but I wanted to be longer than her. I was willing to put that sacrifice into it longer because she was like, hold on, when we gonna do this? When we gonna do this? When we gonna meet up? Where me, I was like, it's gonna come as long as we get there. If we make it, I'm fine. How long ever it takes. But I knew it was something I was willing to invest. I didn't want to play games. I knew what I wanted. So in that knowing, the time didn't really matter.
I still disagree. I mean, I understand that it worked for him, but for me, I don't agree that you long distance date without seeing and being together. Now, under certain circumstances, you can't all the time. You can't be together all the time. Like, you can't be visiting each other every other weekend and whatever the case may be. That's fine. You should be willing to work through that if you really want to be with this person. However, long periods of just talking on the phone and video chatting is not going to get it. I'm sorry. So I don't agree with my husband, even though he was fine. I was not. And I think most of that too speak to like a person's love language. He is words of affirmation. So of course he don't mind being on the phone all day, all night. Like, that's still satisfying to him. That's still filling his tank because he's getting what he needs. Whereas I am physical touch. So I need that affection like this. I need this. Almost all the time we together, this is how I want to sit. Like, I want us to be physically touching each other. Just whatever. And also, actually, my number one is quality time. So, for instance, he can be on the sofa watching a game. I'm going to be on the sofa too. I could be asleep. I could be on my phone. I could be doing something else. I don't really have to be engaging in what it is he's doing. But just because I'm in his company, I'm cool. So I'm in his company. I'm probably on him like this, laid across his lap, my feet on him or something where I'm still getting that physical touch. But for the most part, I'm getting the quality time I need. So that is important in relationships. Kind of figuring out what that person needs and meeting their needs.
Yes.
So that was something big that we had to figure out because I couldn't express why the not seeing him wasn't working for me. I just would fuss about it like all the time. Like, I need to see you. When you coming down here, when I'm coming up there, we need to plan a trip. Like, something needs to shake. That's what it was. So again, I kind of had to come to terms with the fact that it was only temporary. We would be able to see each other, be in each other's presence more often, and now it's every day. So hey, eventually it happens. But also, he had to come to a place where you met me halfway, where you started visiting more often, you started booking more trips because you had to adjust to what I needed to.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you suggest long distance dating?
Yes. You got to know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you're just casually dating, it may not be the thing for you.
Right, right.
But if you know where you are and you definitely you see that person, like I know whether or not I wanted to be with you. You know, after a while, it didn't take long. That's another thing. People be playing games so much, so they like, oh, you know, I don't know. See,
Yeah.
after a while, it was like I said, maybe the first conversation we had, we talked.
Yeah, we did.
So I knew, okay, this is a possibility. This is something that I could see myself.
I would suggest long distance. Again, based on what you're saying, like knowing what you want, willing to invest in a person wholeheartedly. Because another thing is, and I kind of thought about it more in our engagement, but I always would think about the fact that I wasn't worried about what he was doing here. And I felt like he wasn't worried about what I was doing at home. I didn't have no doubt that he was fully invested in our relationship and he wasn't living a different life here. It's just, if you're going to do it, then do it. Communication is key. If you want to be exclusive with somebody, please tell them. Don't assume that you're exclusive. Don't assume because you're not talking to other people that they're not talking to other people. Don't assume that because you're abstaining that they're not having sex.
Yes.
All of these things, because a lot of times you could be abstaining and then they getting it in on the other side of town. So of course they can abstain with you.
They're abstaining from you.
Yeah. So, you know, all of this should happen in conversation. Yeah. That's how it take.
I'll tell you, y'all. So long distance can work if you want it to work. Like anything. Make sure that it's something that you want. It's not for everybody. It's not. But if you really believe in that person and you can see that person being where you want to being together long term, or if that's your thing, because that's one thing we promote. We're not just promoting casually dating, being around, and sexual attractions and relationships. We are promoting long term relationships that can equate to marriage. So if that's something that you really want, long term definitely can be. I mean, long distance can definitely be the thing. If that's not, you gotta do what you gotta do. Everybody is their own person. Hopefully we're making adult decisions but those decisions can affect somebody else. So keep that in mind.
One more point I would like to make, and that is also long distance dating. It opens up the dating pool for you. So if you're in a community that is very small, your workplace, your places you may go and hang out, maybe your church or whatever, that pool is small. I know that and he know that as Christians alone. Just being a Christian alone, the dating pool is small. Then inside of being Christians, every Christian is not the same type of Christian.
Every Christian is not the same Christian. Lord,
so that then shrinks the pool too. So with that, long distance dating opens the pool up so much to you finding the type of person you're looking for. And then again, you figure out what works for y'all. You figure out what that person needs so you can then meet their needs in the distance. You figure out if y'all looking to go long term, if it's worth the investment, are you willing to make the investment? And then from there, you can see, I would say, the positive results of long distance. I'm in Virginia, y'all. Oh, Lord.
Yes. we thank you so much for just taking the time out of your evening or your day, wherever you are, because we coming to you live in different time zones. So whatever you're doing, we just thank you for just taking your time out just to listen to us. We hope that you leave comments, subscribe, and don't be afraid to ask us questions. We will respond and give the best answers we can. All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Love y'all. Have a good night.